2013 NCAA Bowling Championships. The NCAA Bowling Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. Super Bowl lanes in Canton, Michigan. The site for this year's 2013 NCAA Bowling Championship, featuring the top-seeded Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Commodores of Vanderbilt. Nebraska's breezed on through the qualifying, losing just 3 games. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt, an exciting 7-game match to knock off last year's champion. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Dave Armstrong, along with PBA Hall of Famer Randy Peterson. Randy, we knew Nebraska was going to be here. They have been the most dominant team in collegiate bowling this season.
Yeah, and for a number of reasons, a great, well-coached team, but they're going to ride the heels of 2 of the most dominant players in this event, Michelson and Culkin. These 2 players averaged well over 222 combined in the singles portion of the competition. But Dave, the X factor could very well be Elise Bolton from Merritt Island, Florida. And not because I used to give her lessons when she was a youngster.
Well, despite that coaching, here she is, and the leadoff bowler for the Huskers, a very, very good team. Meanwhile, the Commodores, they feature 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a senior. We use the Baker format in this best-of-7 series.
And the Baker format is pretty simple. 5 players on each team. Each player will bowl 2 frames. The leadoff bowler will bowl the 1st and 6th frame. The second player will bowl the 2nd and 7th frame, and so on until the game is complete.
So, Randy, let's take a look at how these 2 teams are planning for success. Brought to you by Northwestern Mutual.
Well, Dave, for Vanderbilt, it's simple. They have to avoid open frames, and their anchor bowler has to be clutch for them to have a chance. For Nebraska, they need to watch the transition. When the oil pattern starts to break down, they need to stay on top of that and make the proper moves, and then find a way to get their bowling ball to go through the pocket correctly so they can string strikes together.
Well, the Huskers have done that in the past. They've won 3 other titles. Vanderbilt has won 1 other NCAA title. Should be a great match, Nebraska and Vanderbilt, and it's coming up next.
Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
About set to go here from Canton, Michigan. Let's set the lineups for you. First of all, for the Commodores of Vanderbilt, their leadoff bowler, their only lefty, Natalie Goodman. Then Nicole Macesso, Tori Ferris, Robin Renslow, freshman of the year, also 2nd-team All-American, and 1st-team All-American. Their anchor is Jessica Ernest. Now, for the Cornhuskers, the top-seeded Nebraska Cornhuskers, they'll start off with the aforementioned Elise Bolton, then Yang Ling, Andrea Ruiz, Christy Michelson, and Liz Culkin, who is a 1st-team All-American herself. So Nebraska, being the higher seed, they had the choice whether they wanted to go 1st or 2nd. They've chosen to lead things off. Elise Bolton, what a start.
I mean, do I need to keep telling everybody how great a player she is and how great she's going to be for the University of Nebraska?
We'll get more into Elise Bolton in a bit. I just cannot wait to hear what you told her as a youngster to make her this good, just a sophomore for Nebraska. Now, speaking of sophomores, here's Natalie Goodman. From the left side, she answers with a strike of her own. We're off to a great start.
Absolutely, great way to start for both players, and finding a way to combat the early nerves and get their teams going.
Nebraska, the only real spot in their lineup that was up for grabs was the number 2 spot here. And Yan Ling, during the warm-ups, beat out Bethany Headley. We might see Headley a little bit later on. Ling, the junior from Singapore. Trips out the 10.
Boy, anytime you're working on a strike and you see the 6 go to the sidewall and trip the 10 out, that's a good thing. And if Dick Vitale was sitting right here next to you, you know what he would have said about that shot? Awesome, baby.
Well, here is Nicole Macesso, sophomore from Centerville, Ohio. Nebraska's come out and put the pressure on. And Macesso says, we can handle it.
You can't handle the truth.
Yes, they can.
Great start, great stuff early on.
Wow, who's going to blink first? Bethany Headley, a freshman, is not starting tonight. And here is Andrea Ruiz, a sophomore from Bogota, Colombia. Came in a little late and leaves the 10. Boy, good ball, though.
Pretty good shot there, just coming in a pinch light, leaving the soft 10. Again, we've talked about it so many times in the Spaker style format of how important spare shooting is to fill frames and avoid the dreaded opens.
No problem handling that spare. She knocks out the 10 and still clean for Nebraska. 2 strikes and a spare. And now up for Vanderbilt, a freshman, very talented from Kalamazoo, nearby Kalamazoo. A lot of fans on hand here in the Detroit area. Tori Ferris. A little light, and she'll just leave the 2.
Little light, but safe. No 10-pin or 8 and 10-pin, standing with the 2-pin. You see this ball struggling to create friction down the lane, and comes in just a pinch light, but very easy single-pin spare conversion coming up.
Randy, as a freshman, she's been in and out of the Vanderbilt lineup, but really bowling great. Said actually has made more shots this week here in Detroit than anyone. Tugged it just a little bit, but no problem. And we are tied after the first 3 frames.
And that's a prime example of why you throw a plastic bowling ball at a single pin spare. You miss a little left or right, you don't have to worry about the ball hooking or sliding past that pin. Just draw a straight line at the single pin spare and throw your plastic ball straight and hard at it.
Here's Christy Michelson, 3rd team All-American. What a nice ball, but again, leaving that 10.
And both Ruiz and Michelson go with a little bit of loft as their bowling balls just kind of come into the pocket a little late and a little soft. Both players leaving back-to-back soft 10s.
Michelson trying to win her 2nd NCAA title. She won as a freshman in '09.
Skinny jeans right there. Just caught enough for the 10-pin.
So again, the Huskers remain clean. And now what a talented player this is. Robin Renslow, just a freshman. Renslow, she was on the junior team USA. In fact, the 2012 junior amateur champion.
Pretty good looking shot, but again, the same result on that right lane where the bowling ball just kind of skids and goes too long down the lane. Looks like there may be some carry down occurring on this right lane. Nice looking shot here. Keeps her hand underneath and rolls it nicely, but comes in light, leaving the 2, 4, 5, 7. Pretty tough spare conversion coming up.
Just want to throw it in that pocket between the 2 and the 5. Just like that.
Hey, I didn't know you were a world-class bowler, Dave. Pretty good stuff there.
So with that 6 on the first ball, that gives Nebraska a slim lead here of 3 pins as we look at, boy, the amazing Liz Culkin.
You want to see some power from female bowler. Watch this. She's got it.
First team All-American. And showing her stuff.
And that's what power does for you. It gets in there and shreds the rack. She's got a great game. She gets out of the ball real quick. And look at that rotation going down the lane and kind of saws the rack open. Do you think her teammates are pumped?
So now Jessica Ernest, first team All-American herself, along with Culkin. She was a 3-time second team All-American. What a career she's had. Boy, that was perfect. Solidly in the pocket for Jessica Ernest as she enters the strike from Culkin. What a good opening game we've got going here for the NCAA championship.
Christian Ming.
Halfway through our first game at Super Bowl in Canton, Michigan. The NCAA champions, best 4 out of 7 with Hall of Famer Randy Peterson. I'm Dave Armstrong, and so glad to have you lane side with us. So back to Elise Bolton, top of the lineup. She's gone strike.
And more importantly, she capitalizes on the strike that was thrown by Liz Culkin, and that's another double for Nebraska. Great balance at the foul line. You see that follow through going right towards the target. She says hit, it does.
So at what age did you coach her as we watch Natalie Goodman answer with a strike of her own?
I was coaching Elise when she was 8 or 9 and all the way up until she was about 15 or 16, right before she graduated and went away to college.
When she first started, what were some of the fundamentals you taught her?
Well, we worked primarily on her swing direction and keeping her hand underneath the bowling ball.
Here's Yan Ling trying to triple up on the Brooklyn side.
Hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
So a turkey for the Huskers, and they've opened up a little bit of a margin, a 13-pin lead.
Coach Straub probably giving her some instruction there and trying to loosen her swing up. Bill Straub, great coach, longtime coach for Nebraska, also a PBA champion.
So now Nicole Macesso, she struck in the second. Tried to make it 3 in a row for Vanderbilt. Looks good. Oh boy, just couldn't trip out the 10.
Yeah, it was a good shot. Again, just a little light in the pocket, and that right lane looks to be a little tighter down the lane. Players will need to make an adjustment, maybe just go a little bit more direct on this right lane, but this is really good out of her hand. You can see that ball crossing right over the second arrow and the 6-pin kind of going around the 10.
Randy, for those new to bowling, when you say it's tighter, what do you mean?
A little bit slicker, a little more oil. The oil seems to have carried down a little bit farther on that lane, a little moving towards the head pin, which gives that lane the appearance that it's just slicker.
Good spare for Nicole. And you look at the Huskers, coached by Bill Straub. He's been the only coach they've ever known. In fact, the National Coach of the Year again this year after winning that same honor in 2005. Back to Andrea Ruiz. Oh, that's way light. And missing the head pin totally, leaving the 1-2.
She got out of her hand quick and got it right of target.
But if you're going to miss, it's, you know, as things go, working off 3 in a row, good pin count, and an easy spare.
Yeah, the 1-2 is easy, and you'd never expect a bowler of this talent level to miss the head pin twice in a row.
Got it. Good cover by Ruiz, and the Huskers remain clean, as do the Commodores.
Covered perfectly. You know, the other school of thought there is you could throw the ball straight and hard at the 1-2 with maybe your spare ball.
Here's John Williamson. He's taken Vanderbilt to 8 straight NCAA championships, winning in 2007.
And John's done a real nice job with this program as well.
You know, that bowling title in 2007 for the Commodores, the only national title for Vanderbilt in their entire school history. Oh boy, another great shot from Tori Ferris, the freshman.
Pretty cool that it would come via the way of our sport, bowling. Nice looking shot here, and again, you're going to see another bowling ball just inside that second arrow, and there's that slight back end reaction resulting in 10 in the pit.
Well, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. The foundation frame here, the 9th frame, and this is Christy Michelson. Leaving a mini split, the baby split, the 310.
So we've seen a couple balls cross over for Nebraska on that left lane. On the right lane, we see the bowling balls going light. This is a transition that I spoke about at the top of the show. See that ball just break loose and go right through the nose, leaving the 310. School of thought, or the rule of thumb here would be to cover both pins with the bowling ball.
So squeeze it in between the 3 and the 10. Big shot here. Nope. Leaving that 10, the first open frame for the Cornhuskers, and that leaves the door wide open for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now the deficit's only 10 when Nebraska looked like they were going to run away with it. Max score for Vanderbilt 244. Max score for Nebraska 223. So this is a big shot coming up right here for Vanderbilt. They can actually tie it up with a strike.
Renslow, oh boy, way light, only 3 pins. Oh my goodness.
And that may be a case of the nerves getting to the freshman from California. That ball was really wide of target. She's left herself a really tough spare, the everything except the right side of the 6, the 9, and the 10. And it's going to take a perfect shot here to clean up the other 7 standing.
Looking for a pocket hit here. She got it. And so coming off the strike, the 3 pins does not do any damage at all. It's the same as if she had gone 9 spare.
That's true, but could not take advantage of the open frame by Nebraska, the 9th. And she gets a huge break here, basically tripping the 4 pin for that spare.
So basically where we are at is Vanderbilt with a 1-pin lead. As we go to the anchor bowlers, 2 of the best in the business. Here's Liz Culkin first for Nebraska. And maybe a reaction to a couple of the Huskers crossing over as she gives it some more room and leaves the sleeper, the 2-8.
Nebraska's in trouble now. She liked it out of her hand, but you can see that ball just skidding all the way down the lane. Remember the first time she was up in the 5th frame, she went light on that lane, but ripped the rack for a strike. And now Liz is looking at the 2-8, not the easiest of spares. But she's going to need to spare here and strike on the fill shot, and then Nebraska will need some help.
So she's able to get the spare. But really, this match is now in the hands of Jessica Ernest. A little final instruction from Bill Straub, probably talking about where to line up now.
Well, this is a big shot coming up because if she strikes here, she will force Jessica Ernest to strike first ball in the 10th for Vanderbilt. And we do have a possibility of a tie.
Well, she gets 8 pins. Shaking her head, knowing that she's left the door open for Vanderbilt, who has a 3-pin lead. And now it does not force Jessica Ernest to strike on the first ball.
Jessica Ernest can go 9 spare 9, and they will win this first game by 1 pin.
You see Bill Straub talking things over with his assistant, Paul Klempa. And now Jessica Ernest. Strike it, pretty well wrap it up. Ooh.
She needs to convert this and then strike on the fill shot for a tie. Things have gotten very interesting. Talk about a seesaw game going back and forth. Nebraska gets out to the early lead, then they trail late, and now all of a sudden Jessica Ernest needs to convert the 2-4-5 and then strike on the fill shot just to tie this first game.
Where the 4 almost fell, but it stood its ground. And so now she needs the spare and the strike to tie.
Look out.
Oh boy, chopped it. And so the first game goes to Nebraska. The 9th and 10th frames, the ones that you expect to really come through in the clutch, did not in this case. And so Nebraska wins game 1. We'll go to game 2 from the Super Bowl in Canton, Michigan in a moment.
There's
escapes as Vanderbilt lets them off the hook in game 1. When you look at women's bowling now in its 10th year as an NCAA sport, it has been dominated basically by 4 teams. Nebraska with 3 titles, Maryland Eastern Shore, who won the last 2 years with 3 titles, and Fairleigh Dickinson with 2, with 1 for Vanderbilt. So now Vanderbilt will start off on the left lane. Natalie Goodman. Goodman's been solid. Natalie with her 3rd strike in as many frames.
And Vanderbilt's really got to be feeling disappointed. Literally giving the last game to Nebraska. They had him on the ropes and didn't get it done in the 10th frame.
One of your keys was the anchor bowler for the Commodores had to come through, and in this case Jessica Ernest just did not. So here is Elise Bolton. Well, that's her first non-strike in her 3 frames. She had 2 strikes and now leaving the 4-pin.
But every shot for Elise has been in the pocket.
Yep.
I didn't expect anything different. She's just a very fundamentally sound player.
You started working with her at the age of 8. Did you see the raw talent even back then?
I did. You could just see it. You know, she just had a knack for it. But what makes Elise so good is how tough she is mentally. She is fearless, afraid of no one or any oil pattern, any team. She's just fearless.
Transferred to Nebraska from Sam Houston State. And boy, she's been a terrific newcomer for the Huskers.
On the outside, she has that, you know, that very soft demeanor, but on the inside, she's a beast.
Nicole Massesso striking a spare so far. Well, the NCAA championship coverage continues with women's gymnastics. It's Tuesday, April 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. For more information on the 2013 NCAA Women's Gymnastics Championship, go to ncaa.com, the official online home of all 89 NCAA championships.
Right now, you can see the transition that's happened on the left lane just from the first shot from Nicole Massasso.
And chopping the 6-pin, getting just the 9, and an open frame for Vanderbilt. That was one of your other keys. Don't have many open frames.
Yeah, you can't have open frames against Nebraska. They're just too strong.
So here is Yan Ling, again the junior from Singapore. Started bowling at the age of 7. And it gets a mixer.
Again, she goes with that little loft, and it's very common to see international players with the loft. A lot of the oil patterns that they bowl on overseas are very dry, and that loft will help get the ball down the lane. And she gets that ball into the perfect swish zone and shreds the rack, throws the 5 over into the 7, and takes advantage of the open frame by Vanderbilt.
That's an interesting point you make about the difference in conditions between here and Singapore.
Mika Koivuniemi is famous for it on our tour. You know, he's from Finland and bowled in Europe for years and years and years, still does, and developed that lofting style.
Another mixer. Tori Ferris, that's her 2nd strike.
Well, and Vanderbilt needed that to kind of right the ship after the open frame in the 2nd. This ball just tickles the head pin. She caves the bucket in. 8-pin goes last. Sometimes it's not how, it's how many.
Now Andrea Ruiz taking a wider angle, and she leaves the tricky 2-8.
I'd like to see Andrea get the ball on the lane a little bit sooner. That'll help the ball start to grab the lane much earlier and get that ball to curve into the pocket. Remember, the excessive loft makes the ball go longer down the lane before it makes its move. The ball can't curve if it's in the air. Andrea's still looking for her first strike. So I like that shot much better. It's less loft. You can see it's a much more controllable shot.
So a good cover by Andrea Ruiz in the third frame. And now here's Robin. Robin probably trying to shake off the effects of that ninth frame in game one.
Tough part about Baker is just not only the fact that you're only bowling 2 frames, but it's moving from one lane to another.
Took a direct approach that time.
Big shot there and cuts the deficit to 2 now. They couldn't have come at a better time. Robin just makes a great shot here, playing in between second and third arrow. And that's high flush.
So that's how you erase that open frame, a double for the Commodores. Now we go to Christy Michelson. Boy, what a story Christy has been this year. She broke her elbow in a car crash just before the season began. She has really spent this entire year, if she wasn't bowling, she was in the rehab center working on that elbow, and she says it's finally at 100%.
That pre-shot routine, working on her push weight, feeling that.
A little high on the head pin, and she'll leave the 4-7.
Christy's got that loft game as well. As you take a look, Coach Bill Straub, and this ball just drifts high, leaving the 4-7. Again, the players need to make the adjustments from one lane to the next.
And you're right, in this Baker format, Randy, they don't have much time to make that adjustment. But do it on the fly.
Well, they have to rely on their teammates to come back with the right information. You know, your leadoff bowler says, hey, I just made this adjustment, so take it for what it's worth and apply it to your game. And, you know, maybe if I move 3 boards to the left, you only move 1. And so there's a lot of conversation going on amongst the players and the coaches.
Here's Jessica Ernest, who had that open frame in the 10th.
See how she rebounds mentally from that.
Wouldn't surprise me. See a strike right here.
Look out.
Crossing over, and boy, probably thankful to leave just the 5-9.
Could be some anxiety from the last game when she opened in the 10th frame to give the match to Nebraska, and this is just a pull shot right here. Catches just a little bit of the head pin, leaving the 5-9.
Her mom and dad, Lisa and Larry, owned a bowling center back home in Vidalia, Illinois. Her sister, of course, Josie Ernest, 2-time NCAA Player of the Year, part of that championship team at Vandy in 2007, and now an assistant coach.
She kind of gave it the, all right, I made a spare.
Well, this match could hardly be any tighter. 2-pin lead for Nebraska as Liz Culkin comes up in the 5th. Liz has 6 300 games to her credit. Averaged .214 this year, and in this, the NCAA championships, averaged .220.
It's a good solid game right here.
Boy, that is solid. Liz Culkin with a strike, and Nebraska has a 2-pin lead at the halfway point of game 2 after Nebraska won game 1. After Nebraska took game 1. There's a tough Big East Conference lacrosse battle tomorrow on ESPNU. The dynamic duo of Jeff Fountain and Riley O'Connor will take on Matt Cavanaugh and the stellar Fighting Irish. Old Spice College Lacrosse, Georgetown against Notre Dame tomorrow at 11 a.m. on ESPNU, and also watch live on Watch ESPN, the greatest app in the world. So now we go to the 6th frame, and up first for Vanderbilt, Natalie Goodman. She's been perfect. 3 strikes in 3 frames.
Dave, is that a free app?
It is.
I got to get that app.
Absolutely. Wow, has she been solid? Every shot right smack dab in the pocket, and 4 strikes for Goodman.
And the only left-hander on this championship pair. Big advantage for her. She doesn't have to see any transition. Unlike the righties and all of the traffic that they have to go through.
Here's Elise Bolton, a little bit light and leaving the 7-pin.
Boy, just not enough down lane reaction. In fact, that ball just barely catches a little bit of the head pin, that little swish zone there, and just not enough angle into the pocket to carry that shaker 7.
Honorable mention All-American Elise from Merritt Island, Florida. Doesn't even have to watch. As soon as it left her hand, she knew that was good. And a 2-pin lead going to the 7th frame, but a chance for Vandy to take the lead with a double.
Another close match, or excuse me, another close game. Another one heading to the wire. Remember last game, Vanderbilt basically gave it away in the 10th frame with an open frame. It's a big shot coming up right here.
Nicole had an open in the 2nd frame of this game. Not this time. A double for the Commodores, who take the lead.
Big shot there for Nicole. They take the lead now, and you see another ball in between the 2nd and 3rd arrow, and a little high flush. 4-pin goes late, and she's pretty pumped up. Just don't headbutt your teammates.
Here's Yan Ling. We just never got back to that head pin. Slid on through, and she's got a mess. The 1-2-4-10. Technically not a split because the head pin is standing.
And that ball just went straight for a long, long time. And in fact, this ball doesn't hook until it comes out of the ball return. Now she's going to try to get the ball to the left side of the head pin and slide it over into the 10.
What are the odds of making this?
For you, 2-1.
For me, no chance.
For her, I think it's 5-1.
Okay. How about even money?
Well, I was betting on her.
Yeah. What a big shot for Yan Ling.
Executed perfectly, gets the ball over into the left side of the head pin, drives it into the 10 pin, and the ball takes out the 2 and the 4.
So here's Tori Ferris. She struck in the 3rd frame. One here would give Vandy a commanding lead.
There's a 6-pin leading on the 10, but just not enough drive through the pocket to get it to react properly to take the 10 out.
So to maintain the lead, Ferris will try to fill the frame here in the 8th. One of the things that John Williamson, her coach, told me before the match was that she is a consistent frame filler. I hope I don't jinx her by saying that. And a very tough bowler. Good shot.
I'm so glad she made
Me
that.
too.
Still an 11-pin lead for Vanderbilt. Nebraska needs to start putting some strikes up, getting back to the keys. Nebraska needs to string strikes to get back in this.
Well, your keys were dead on. It's almost like you saw this match ahead of time. Here's Andrea Ruiz.
And another 10-pin. A little bit more speed and less angle, and she can kick that 10 out. Look at her playing about the 16th board, and just a little late and a little behind the head pin.
It's going to come down to that 9th and 10th again. Good mark, spare here in the 8th frame for Nebraska.
She's got a nice game, great fundamentals. That fall through went right at the 10 pin. Very nice spare conversion.
So here we go. Robin Renslow, a freshman, but a very talented freshman. 2nd team All-American, as I mentioned, Rookie of the Year this year in the country. Average 200. Right through the head pin, and lucky not to get a split, leaving the 4-7.
Right through the schnoz. That could have been the big 4 easy, and only leaving the 4-7. This is a nice break right here, quite honestly. And if she converts the 4-7 here, they will escape without an open frame heading into the 10th frame. That could have been disastrous.
Got it. So the foundation frame, she throws up a spare in the 9th.
Well, now it's time for the big guns to flex their muscles here for Nebraska, with Michelson and Culkin coming up here in the 9th and 10th frame for Nebraska. They have a possible 213 if they strike out from the 9th frame. And Vanderbilt, if they strike out in the 10th, they will shoot 213.
Here we go again.
Does it sound familiar?
Yeah, it does. Here's Michelson. Just not getting back into the pocket.
Remember last time she was up on this right lane, she went just a little bit high, and she makes an adjustment there, and the ball just never grabs a lane. And luckily, the only thing left standing was a 2-8.
.201 possible now for Nebraska. .213 possible for Vandy. And she's able to kick out the 2-8. So spares for both in the 9th frame. And Vanderbilt has a 12-pin lead going into the 10th.
9 spare strike for Jessica Ernest in the 10th frame, and she will shut out Nebraska. Remember the last game she had this opportunity. Look out. Flags the head pin again, and now Vanderbilt is in jeopardy of losing this game again. She converts here and then throws a strike. Vanderbilt will bowl 200 even. That will give Liz Culkin an opportunity to throw 3 in the 10th to win by 1.
First things first, convert this spare. She will. Good shot by the anchor bowler, Jessica Ernest.
She's got to find a way to settle down, Dave, because the 10th frame, the last 2 games, it's come down to this. And remember, she opened the 10th frame the first game, and here whiffs the head pin on her first ball. Luckily converts the 1-2-8. Count very important here.
Only 7. So 197 the final for Vanderbilt.
Liz Culkin now for Nebraska needs 2 strikes and 7 pins to win by 1.
Well, the 2 strikes, the hardest part for Liz Culkin.
Yeah, but 2 and 7's a lot easier than 3.
Yes.
So again, that count, so important on Vanderbilt's fill shot. A lot less pressure now. Sure, the first 2 strikes, lots of pressure. I get that, but 2 and 7, a lot easier than all 3 in the 10th.
Culkin struck in the 5th frame on this lane. Not this time.
Nope. Wide of target, never had a chance.
So Vanderbilt will even up this match, and now it's basically a best of 5. .188, the most that Nebraska can have here in game number 2, and Vanderbilt will win this game. So they come back and come through here. And Vanderbilt will even up this match at a game apiece.
Both games coming down to the 10th frame, David. Obviously, that's the all-important anchor position, and both anchor bowlers had their chances of putting away the other team. Coach Bill Straub standing behind Liz Culkin. There may be a ball change coming up for her. Bill is trying to go through some different scenarios with his anchor bowler right now, trying to get some feedback from her as to what she feels or what she's seeing.
And what you've seen, what's the difference between these two lanes right now?
It looks like the left lane's starting to hook more. You know, if you get it right, if say the 9th board, the ball's not going to hook. So you got, you know, the players just have to make better shots. But here she's going to a ball change and trying to see if she can get a little bit better ball reaction. As she moved in, and that ball actually hooked more.
All right, so Vanderbilt comes back and wins game 2, and we're even at a game apiece.
You are watching
the NCAA
Bowling Championship
on ESPN.
One take. One take.
With the
9 and my team won it. I was here in 2010 and we took second, and now we're back, and there's nothing more than I can say that I just really want to win.
It's a really awesome feeling. I'm just super excited to be able to have a second chance at it. Not very many people can say that they get to experience this twice, so I feel very privileged and lucky and honored and just excited.
Well, they should be excited anytime you go for a championship in anything. It is an exciting moment for you as we welcome you back to the Super Bowl in Canton, Michigan. With PBA Hall of Famer Randy Peterson, I'm Dave Armstrong, and a record sellout crowd on hand here in Michigan. So we're all tied, a game apiece. We go into game number 3, and now it's gone from a best-of-7 series to a best-of-5 series.
Both games coming down to the 10th frame. Really good stuff. Very competitive.
Elise Bolton, 2 strikes, 2 spares, crossing over for a strike. Little wry smile. Did you teach her that one?
I never taught her how to throw at Brooklyn, Dave.
It works,
How
though.
dare you?
No. Well, here is Natalie Goodman. She has performed better than anyone so far. 4 strikes in 4 frames.
Well, it's because she's left-handed. Anybody can tell you that.
Boy, talk about great upside. Just a sophomore. Ooh, I hope I didn't jinx her with those 4 strikes.
2, 4, 7, 8. And she has bowled really well. It has nothing to do with which hand she throws it with, but she's made really good shots today. That's the first one that's gone high, and she's left herself with an incredibly difficult spare conversion. The reason being the back pin, the 8 pin.
See Josie Ernest, the former 2-time NCAA Player of the Year assistant coach for the Commodores, visiting with Natalie. Natalie has 4 300 games to her credit. Wow, good cover.
Yeah, I was a little fortunate there.
Take it now, right?
Absolutely.
It's like a putt that lips in. You don't care. It's in.
Sometimes, like I said, it's not how, it's how many.
Here's Yan Ling. Performed well. 3 strikes and a spare. And back with another strike.
And that's taking advantage of that Brooklyn thrown by Elise Bolton in the first frame. And Nebraska out to a quick lead.
Doubling up the Huskers. Again, one of your keys, Randy, trying to string those strikes together.
Looked like a little less loft on that shot and gave the ball an opportunity to grab the lane.
So now Nicole Macesso. 2 strikes, a spare, and an open frame for Nicole so far. The sophomore. Great student in medicine, health, and society at 3.75 GPA at Vanderbilt. Boy, good shot. Just couldn't trip out the 10.
Yeah, it really was. Watch the 6-pin, second from the right, just kind of go around that 10. That's all about the ball going through the pins the correct way. She hit her target through it with the right velocity and the right amount of rotation, but that bowling ball, for whatever reason, on this oil pattern did not go through the pins correctly. Therefore, the result is a ringing 10.
In a sense, this is like the freshman year for Nicole, because last year as a freshman, she had a stress fracture in her back. She has been terrific all season long for Vandy. Look out. Throws that one in the gutter. And her second open frame. That really leaves the door wide open for the Huskers here, who are working on a double.
The only missed spare is coming via Vanderbilt, and it cost them in the first game. And they got away with it in the last game.
Right through the head pin, and this is going to be an open frame. The dreaded 4, 6, 7, 10. Well, it's an SEC softball battle tomorrow at 3. The Arkansas Razorbacks take on the Missouri Tigers. Arkansas and Missouri at 3 on ESPNU. Also live on Watch ESPN. So she'll go for the pin count and trip out the 6-10. Open frame here for the Huskers. So now Tori Ferris will try to get the Commodores back on track.
No team running away with this at any point in any of the games thus far. It's been pretty much, you know, nip and tuck from the start to the middle of the game to the end of the game.
And just not getting back to that head pin.
Stronger ball in that lane, and it'll grab the lane and hook up. That ball just had nothing on it. Watch it just hydroplane right here. It just grips so late down the lane, it had no chance of getting back. So something that rolls a little bit sooner, grabs the lane 5 feet earlier than that last shot, and it gets all the way to the 1-3.
2-4-7 or 2-4-10 split, excuse me.
Got a chance.
Oh, good try.
Back-to-back open frames for Vanderbilt. Not able to take advantage of the big 4 left in the third frame by Nebraska's Andrea Ruiz. Good try, though, on the 2-4-10 conversion.
And this is now, if you're Nebraska and you're experienced like this senior Michelson, you just go for the jugular here.
She hasn't struck yet today, though.
Yeah. And another split.
And you can see the players are making the adjustment on that left lane. The left lane does hook more, and they're moving in, just not enough. And that Nebraska's paying for it every time they've gone through the nose now. In the third and fourth frame, it's been a big split. And here's another open frame. So it'll be 4 open frames in a row for Nebraska and Vanderbilt. I'm not real fond of hooking the ball at the 4-7. She's done it a couple times today. I like throwing the ball straight and hard at that. And if you throw the ball straight and hard at the 4-7, I mean, there are times where you can actually bounce a pin out of the pit and convert something like that. But you need velocity, and you need to throw it straight and fast.
So 61 through 4 for Nebraska, and an opportunity here for Robin Renslow. They have 37, Vanderbilt, through 3. Working off an open frame. In fact, back-to-back opens, and that'll get them going with a strike. So now a chance for the Commodores to regain the lead.
I like her, and I like that her game. It's very sound. She gets the ball out of her hand nice and quick. Good balance at the foul line. She rolls behind the bowling ball nicely, and there's a great result.
So if Vandy can double up in the 5th frame off of that strike, they'll have the lead. Here is Liz Culkin.
The two powerhouse 4th and 5th bowlers for Nebraska haven't gotten a lot done today. 2 strikes between the two of them.
That's not going to get there. Oh, boy.
Could be back-to-back-to-back open frames for Nebraska. Having trouble adjusting to the transition of the oil pattern. She now has left herself the 2-4-8-10. Gets the ball wide. It has no chance of getting back. Nebraska right now in big trouble because the picture isn't very clear for half of the team as to where to stand and where to throw the bowling ball.
Went for the pin count, got the 2-4-8, but leaves the 10, and now 3 open frames in a row for the Huskers, and a chance for the Commodores to really put the hammer down with Jessica Ernest coming off a strike from the 4th frame. 70 pins through 5 for Nebraska, and again 3 open frames in a row, 3 splits in a row for Nebraska. And there's the double the Commodores so desperately wanted. And that puts Vanderbilt in the lead through 5 frames. Tied at a game apiece, Vanderbilt has the lead in game 3. The Super Bowl in Canton, Michigan. It's the NCAA Women's Bowling Championship on ESPN. Tied at a game apiece, best of 7 series, and Vanderbilt has taken charge in this game with 2 strikes in a row. Meanwhile, the Huskers, they're lost. They have 3 open frames in a row and 3 splits in a row. Back to their leadoff bowler Elise Bolton. Well, that gets them back on track.
They really needed that. My star pupil stepping up in the 6th frame to get Nebraska jump-started here for the last half of this game.
I think your coaching fee just went up.
Nice shot there. She's been the only one that's actually been close to hitting the pocket this game for Nebraska.
Now Natalie Goodman. 6 spare. Crossing over. And she'll leave the 5-8.
Last 2 shots for Natalie, both pulled. She went through the nose the last time, leaving the 2-4-7-8. And this time crossing over once again. Prior to that, she was perfect.
Yes, she was. Look at that. 4 strikes in a row before this.
Again, the key here is to convert the spare and maintain the lead.
Right now, 15-pin lead for Vanderbilt. But remember, Nebraska has a strike. Going for their spare ball.
I like that. That's fundamentally sound right there. Go to the spare ball, throw it straight, and make the 5-8.
So again, filling frames. Natalie Goodman has been great. 4 strikes, 2 spares. Now Yan Ling coming off the strike from Elise Bolton in the 6th frame.
She did throw a pretty good shot the last time she was up on this left lane when she did strike. Needs to do the exact same thing again. More loft. And there's
the light.
There's the result. The ball can't hook when it's airborne.
You noticed the last time when she had the strike, she had less loft, and it got to the head pin.
Thumb stays in it too long. Ball's too far out on the lane. It's not going to hook. Get the ball down into the floor much sooner. Get the hand out of the ball quicker. Ball reacts much stronger. Nebraska's struggling just to hit the pocket on this left lane this game.
Well, I used the term lost, and she almost chopped the 5 there. I used the term lost, and that's kind of where the Huskers were. Bolton got him back on track. Now a 7 spare for Yan Ling, and now it's Nicole Macesso. 2 open frames in a row for Nicole. Well, excuse me, 2 open frames in her last 3 attempts for Nicole.
Really taking her time.
Nicole working off a spare from the 6th frame. That looks good. Well, good pin count anyway. And she'll go after the 10. Pac-12 baseball on display tomorrow on ESPNU. Arizona State travels to Southern Cal to take on USC. Arizona State against USC tomorrow at 5 on ESPNU. Also live on Watch ESPN.
You know, Dave, I grew up on the West Coast. I'm so old, I remember when it was the Pac-10.
Well, I'm so confused anymore. You have the Big Ten, which has 12 teams, and you have the Big 12, which has 10.
That makes no sense.
John Williamson played football for Ole Miss, and now the head coach of the Commodores.
Oh, look out.
Oh, good thing they painted that thing this morning.
Well, you heard it double dribble when she let go of it, and that ball was left all the way, and it actually skidded far enough down the lane to catch enough of the 10-pin. Right here, she's a little worried, and she's saying, "Skid, please." Okay, thank you.
Right through the head pin, and lucky to get the 10 to fall.
She needs to make a bigger move to the left, or throw it faster, or go to a ball that doesn't hook as much. Last 2 shots have went high. The last time she left the Big 4. This time she trips the Big 4 out. Nebraska still has a chance, but it's starting to get late in the game for them, and their last 3 bowlers, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th bowlers, have yet to strike this game.
Breeze will cover the 4-7, and a spare in the 8th frame for Nebraska. Vanderbilt, though, maintains their 16-pin advantage, and here is the freshman Tori Ferris. When you look at how young this Vanderbilt team is and their bright future with Ferris and Renslow, both freshmen, Macesso and Goodman, sophomores, they do lose their All-American and Jessica Ernest, who is a senior.
That's okay, because I'm actually going to bowl anchor for them next year.
Are you?
Yeah.
Name change to Sandy?
Well, we're going to keep the Randy. We're just going to spell it R-A-N-D-I. Nice shot there. Last time she was up, remember, she went light. And she makes a nice adjustment there, and this ball is high flush. What a great shot. Right around the 13th board. Just enough back in to get that ball to finish in the 1-3.
And can I share with our viewers your narcissistic behavior when they were cheering "Let's go Vandy"? You thought they were saying "Let's go Randy."
They weren't saying that?
No, sorry.
Oh.
Here's Christina Michelson with her first strike.
Well, that's Christie's first strike of the evening. Andrea Ruiz hasn't struck yet, and this is Christie's first one. For Nebraska to win this championship, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th bowlers have to get it going. You got to figure it out. Make some ball change, make some type of adjustment on both lanes, and they need to start stringing strikes.
Renslow can really put the hammer down. Oh boy, light though.
Not a bad shot, just a little bit right of target. She doesn't throw a big hook, so you can't expect that ball to go out and just start wheeling back. You can see it's just a little closer to the second arrow and just not enough down lane reaction.
Single pin spare, easy for Renslow. Started bowling at the age of 5. As I mentioned, on that junior team USA in 2013. Right at it. Perfect.
Well done. Max. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
I was going to say a spare in that foundation frame. 188 possible for Nebraska. 194 possible for Vandy.
And again, 3 games in a row. It's going to come down to the 10th frame. Which anchor bowler is going to perform?
There's Liz Culkin. A little bit lost in that 5th frame. She had the split. So we'll see how she can perform here in the 10th. Gave it a little more room that time. And another split.
Well, Nebraska's going to go down 1-2 here. This ball gets right, doesn't get back. 2-10 split, staring at the anchor bowler for Nebraska. And unfortunately, Liz, Christy, and Andrea are not lined up on either one of the 2 lanes.
So an open frame in the 10th, and that'll do it. Vandy will win game 3 and take a 2-1 advantage. A 156 total for the Cornhuskers. All she needs is 1 pin.
Keep it on the lane, stay behind the foul line, and Vanderbilt's going to go up 2-1. It's enough.
Not great, but plenty. That's all they needed. So Vanderbilt comes back after losing game 1. They'll win games 2 and 3.
They didn't need to bowl a big game.
No.
I mean, when Nebraska opens 4 times in one game and shoots 156, Vanderbilt just needs to fill frames, and that's pretty much what they did from the 4th frame on.
And you look at this, it really could be a 3-0 lead for Vandy. They let the first one get away.
It's a great point, and it was up to Jessica in the 10th frame of that game. She missed the spare and gave the game to Nebraska.
Well, anytime you can roll a 169 and win, that's a gift. So Vanderbilt takes a 2-1 lead. Can Nebraska get their mojo working? We'll find out when we come back in a moment. The Super Bowl in Canton, Michigan, with PBA Hall of Famer Randy Peterson. I'm Dave Armstrong. As Vanderbilt surprisingly has taken a 2-1 lead. We say surprisingly because Nebraska came in the odds-on favorite, the #1 seed, and they were the #1 team in the country coming to Canton, Michigan. We look at our first team All-American featuring Liz Culkin from Nebraska, Jessica Ernest from Vanderbilt, but how about the Jennies of Central Missouri with not 1 but 2 bowlers on the All-American list? It'll be Vanderbilt leading off game 4, Natalie Goodman.
And Natalie's been good, man. Work with me, Dave.
Gotcha. Still good. Oh, my. How did that 10-pin stay up?
Remember, she started with 4 strikes in a row, struggled on the right lane in the last game. However, does not have an open frame. She converts the 10-pin here. She will be perfect through 7 frames in terms of filling.
Part of the 2011 Illinois State Champion high school team on the Junior Team USA 2013. And knew that one as soon as it left her hand.
Good spare shooter. You know, as soon as the ball was about a quarter of the way down the lane, she knew that that 10-pin wasn't a problem.
Loves to go celebrate with her team. Again, Baker format, which means you have 5 members of your team, each bowl 2 frames. The leadoff bowler, Elisa Bolton, will bowl in the 1st and the 6th frames. Elisa right through the nose, and she leaves the split, the 3-6-7-10.
And that's really the first poor shot that Elisa's thrown today. She gets it inside a target and goes through the nose and pays for a 3-6-7-10. She'll try to get the ball to the right side of the 3-pin, throw it over into the 7, and the bowling ball will take out the 6 and the 10.
Randy, in your mind, you just kind of look at this as like the baby split, the 3-10.
Great way to look at it.
Well, got a little bit too high on the 3, though, and leave the 7 and open in the 1st.
Boy, is it just me, or does it feel like somebody sucked all the life out of Nebraska?
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. Those 3 open frames in a row, those 3 splits in a row in the last game seem to have taken all the fire, the vim and vinegar away from the Huskers.
And you made a great point in the last game that Vanderbilt could easily be up 3-0.
Mm-hmm. So here is Nicole Macesso. That's a good shot. Oh, got a little bit high on the head pin and leaves the 6-10.
And you can see how much more aggressive that left lane is. It's a little drier. The players will have to find a way to create a little bit more angle on that left lane. Good shot until it breaks loose and goes through the nose, only leaving the 6-10. So nice break there. Nebraska early open. Vanderbilt takes the early lead. All the momentum on Vanderbilt's side. They just need to keep the pressure on.
It's fair. So 2 filled frames for the Commodores to begin game 4. And they have a 9-pin lead over Nebraska. Here's Yan Ling. Yan started off great. 3 strikes in her first 3 frames. She's filled every frame so far. And another strike for Yan Ling.
See if she can get her team going, start stringing some strikes, and even up this match at 2 games apiece.
And Tori Ferris. Tori with 3 strikes, as you see, in her 6 frames so far.
So by my math, that's 50%, Dave.
Yes, very good.
And there's the problem when you try to create angle and you don't have enough revolutions or a strong enough bowling ball to go through the pin. You'll leave that flat 10, which is exactly what this is right here. You can see that it just enters the 1-3 a little soft, and you'll always leave that half 10 unless the ball's perfectly placed between the 1 and the 3 as it goes through the pocket.
Is that weight of the ball? Is that rotation? Is it power, strength? What is it?
It's ball motion going through the pin. So it can be a combination of lack of rev rate, not a strong enough bowling ball, could be speed related. But on that particular shot there, not enough revolutions, and the ball just doesn't have enough drive through the pins.
3 spares in a row for Vandy to keep the pressure on the Huskers, who can take the lead with another strike here. Working off a strike from the 2nd frame here is Andrea Ruiz.
She's still looking for her first strike. Needs to hook. Instead it rolls out, whiffs the head pin. It's the washout again.
That's happened to her more than once.
Playing close to 4th arrow, and watch this ball just quit. Can't play the right lane like you play the left lane. It's a little tighter. And I look for Coach Straub to possibly make a lineup change here in the very near future.
Mulling it over right now. Good conversion, though, by Andrea Ruiz. Clutch shot.
Well, that was pretty spectacular. The Nebraska can't really afford another open frame. She steps up and makes the 1-2-4-10 and made it look easy.
So an 8-pin lead for Vandy. Again, coming off the strike. Renslow with her 3rd strike of the night.
And Robin's been very solid throughout the competition tonight. Eyes on the target. Snaps that arm through the follow through and snaps the 10 out. See that lean, that right shoulder lower than the left, weight balanced over that left knee. Good stuff.
So here's Christy Michelson. Christy, her only strike came the last time she was up. That was on the left lane. See if she can make it on the right. No, way light. Now the NCAA championships, the coverage continues with women's gymnastics. It's Tuesday, April 30th, 8 p.m. on ESPNU. For more information on the 2013 NCAA Women's Gymnastics Championship, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 89 NCAA championships.
Nebraska on the left lane had trouble going high every shot. Now on the right lane, they're going light.
And a good cover again, though, by Michelson. That weak pin count, though, makes the lead 13 for Vandy.
Again, Nebraska finding themselves trailing almost halfway through the fourth game. Vanderbilt with a 2-1 lead over Nebraska in this best 4 out of 7 game match.
Jessica Ernest with a split.
And just when Vanderbilt could have really put their feet firmly on the throats of their opponent, the anchor bowler for Vanderbilt goes right through the nose, leaving the 410.
A good try, but the 10-pin stands in an open frame for Vanderbilt, which cuts the lead to 1.
Again, when you look at the score sheet top to bottom for Nebraska, the first 2 bowlers, Elise and Jan, have really done a nice job. It's been the bottom 3 players, Ruiz, Michelson, and Culkin, have not thrown enough strikes for Nebraska today.
Trying a different angle of approach. And oh my goodness, there it goes. Wow.
There's this old bowling announcer who used to say a long time ago, hit him thin and watch him spin.
I don't like to golf.
During the break after that strike by Liz Culkin in the 5th frame. So it's anybody's game here in this Baker format. Best of 7 series in the Baker format. Each team with 5 bowlers. Each bowler bowls 2 frames. We asked Bill Straub, the head coach of the Huskers, how he picks his anchor bowler.
That's the tough part. If you get to help me with that, give me a call. I can always use help with that. We're blessed with a lot of talented people. Hopefully we can pick the right ones to do the best.
Well, the right one for Liz Culkin in the 5th when Nebraska needed a lift the most. They were lifeless, Randy. And all of a sudden, that strike, as the pin was spinning around, you wondered, would it stand or would it go? And when it went, a different atmosphere altogether for Nebraska.
Maybe just what they needed to turn this around.
And Natalie Goodman through the nose, lucky to leave just the 4. Goodman has been so solid, and Straub, as we mentioned, his team has won 3 national championships. If you go back to the IBC days, his team won 5 of those national titles, so 8 titles overall for Nebraska.
Well, it just tells you just what a great program Bill Straub runs and the kind of coach he is.
And a good spare for Goodman, who's trying to get Vanderbilt, who has the lead, but it doesn't feel like it, does it?
Yeah, well, it's only a 1-pin lead.
Right.
And it could certainly turn the other way with a strike right here by Elise Bolton. She's been very solid, except for the last shot that she threw when she went through the nose. Let's see if she can get back to her striking ways.
Split the last time. Perfect that time. Perfect that time.
Much better shot on line. Goes right through the 1-3. Splits that rack in half, and it's a big-time double for Nebraska when they needed it most.
That puts the Huskers in front.
And nice recovery for her coming back from that open frame. it's amazing how quick the momentum can really turn, especially in this Baker-style format.
So now Nicole Macesso with all eyes on her. Working off the spare in the 6th frame. Trying to mix them up, leaving the 10. Only 2 strikes so far for Nicole this evening.
Oh, and that was a nice shot by Nicole. It comes in just a pinch light. She doesn't get the 10 out, but I really like this shot. It's giving her and her team a chance. She needs to just convert the 10 pin.
Again, Vanderbilt leads 2 games to 1. Got it.
Solid. I mean, their hands have to be sore from all the high-fiving that they've done this week. They got blisters, not from bowling, but from slapping high 5s and 10s.
Now Yan Ling trying to make it 3 in a row. Good pin count, though, working off the double.
A much better shot, though. Not as much loft, and that ball actually had a chance to strike. Gets the ball in the lane much sooner. Now, a little bit more axis rotation or side turn, and that ball would have struck. Nebraska cannot afford an open frame the rest of this game to get back into this and even this championship matchup at 2 games apiece.
Oh, get there. Yep.
Took its time, but it got it.
So a spare in the 7th for Nebraska to maintain that 9-pin advantage. Now all eyes on the freshman, Tori Ferris. From nearby Kalamazoo. Tori with 9 and a spare, her first time up on this lane in this game. Got the 7 to go. Smothered it.
Nice shot for Tori. She's only had 1 open frame all day today, and that's a really nice time to strike in the 8th frame to give your teammates an opportunity to strike out to bowl a big game. She throws the head pin over into the sidewall. Looks like the 5 scoots over and takes the 7 out.
I love what John Williamson had to say about Tori Ferris as freshman. He called her a street fighter. Said she is tough. So here now, Andrea Ruiz. Got it into the pocket this time.
Still looking for her first strike. Poor Andrea just can't find a way to get her ball to face the pocket flush and knock all 10 down at the same time.
Good news, despite no strikes, Andrea only has 1 open frame, and that came on a split.
Good spare shooter. Love the way her follow through goes in the direction she's trying to throw the ball in. That's pretty much textbook.
Well, Vanderbilt can take the lead again here by doubling up.
And Vanderbilt can strike out and shut out Nebraska. Max score for Vanderbilt, 214. Max score for Nebraska, 212. Again, our 4th match in a row coming down to the 9th and 10th frame, as it should be.
Robin Renslow, strike! And Vanderbilt is back in front.
Well, that was a mungus strike, as in humongous. She doubles up, takes advantage of the strike they had up in the 8th frame. And Vanderbilt proving that they're the ones that can strike. When you look at their bottom 3 players, they're getting it done for Vanderbilt.
So now so important for Christy Michelson to answer, as John Williamson loves that. His Commodores have taken the lead, a 2-pin lead. Michelson has only one strike tonight, and that one a little bit high, and got the 10-pin to go. That would have been disastrous.
Well, remember, she went light last time on the right lane and left the 5 count, which was the bucket with the 7-pin. This time it's high. Fortunate that the 10-pin goes late, only leaving the 4-7, and they're starting to really lose hope, or any hope, of trying to tie this matchup.
So a spare in the 9th frame, but remember, Vanderbilt working off a double.
Well, once again, it's up to the anchor bowler for Vanderbilt, Jessica Ernest, who can step up here in the 10th frame and lock the match, or excuse me, lock the game up with a strike here and good count. Vanderbilt is going to take a 3-1 lead. She must strike on this ball. Well, not only does she not strike, she loses count, and she's left herself with an extremely difficult spare, the bucket, the 2, 4, 5, 8.
Leaves the door open for a possible tie again, too. Conversion.
Wow, that was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, she literally split the 4-5 in half. Now, if she strikes on this ball, Vanderbilt will shoot 190. That will force Nebraska to throw a double in the 10th frame. And like you said, we have the possibility of a tie. So she strikes on this ball. Liz Culkin has to strike first ball in the 10th frame for Nebraska, or Nebraska will trail 3-1. Fill shot so important now.
That's pretty good fill.
Yeah, really good. Not only does she convert the bucket with so much pressure on her, but Jessica Ernest steps up and then goes flush to now force Liz Culkin, the anchor bowler for Nebraska, to throw 2 strikes here in the 10th frame. If Liz does not strike on this ball, the game's over.
Strike spare, we're tied. It's all to this one. And there it is. Huge shot for Liz Culkin.
It's now time for the anchor bowler for Nebraska to step up and prove to the world why her coach, Phil Straub, talking to her right now, put her in this position.
So here is the situation. A strike here, and Nebraska will win this game. A spare here, and we're tied.
And each team will get a half a point.
Gonna get there. Now she has to convert this.
Looked like she got just a little fast with that, and the ball never hooked. She's left herself a little chicken left on that bone. 2-8, not the easiest spare.
So there's the conversion and the tie, 190 to 190. So they each get a half point. Nebraska and Vanderbilt with a tie in this best-of-7 series. Craziness happening at the Super Bowl.
Tired of